party. Welcome to the after party. Did you bring some snacks and treats?
Yes, it did.
I hope you got me something to eat.
Maybe.
Welcome to the after party. Coming to the after party.
Right now.
I've been waiting here all day to act like a fool this way. Welcome to the after party. Join us in the after party.
Right now.
Oh, chocolate and gabbing, maybe some microphone gabbing at the after party.
With DJ Eric, Page.
I realized, like, as we were getting started, that I hadn't set it to subscriber only, so I had to go in and do that quickly.
Oh, you're about to get like
yeah,
hot girl.
yeah. Like, I've noticed, like, it hasn't affected the chat in any other way except removing like the spam.
What's gonna
That's
happen
all
when
it's
they
done.
start becoming subscribers of the DJ Eric's YouTube channel?
I mean, if they're going to subscribe for at least 5 minutes, I'll give it to
Yeah,
them.
views of two, I guess.
If you're a subscriber for 5 minutes, you can advertise your website. That's the rule. So
if it really breaks the terms and conditions.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I think like the TOS on YouTube is I can't offer anything for money. So I guess if you're going to subscribe for 5 minutes, you can do it. I suppose. Anyway,
is that a hint at the OnlyFans advertisement coming?
Oh yeah, absolutely. OnlyFans is on the way. It's on the way. All right, we got Lance dropping in already with a $9.99 super chat. I got my popcorn and candy. This is going to be good. I don't know what y'all are expecting. We're going to talk about the shows. But
I think they're just expecting because you're here and you're known as the edge.
It's going to be super edgy, probably. Yeah, I think so. So we've got 3 topics today. We're going to talk about the casting for Gotham Knights on the CW because there's been so much. I mean, the usual suspect channels have already imploded.
Yeah, but at this point, is it drama if it's just people that whine all the time?
Do we have another?
I don't know if it's really drama. Like at that point, is it just like a normal day?
I mean, I guess so. We'll talk about that because I do want to talk about the casting. There's an interesting change in a character that I think a lot of people wanted me to comment on or talk about. So we'll get to that. So we'll talk about that first, and then we're going to talk about Superman and Lois, and then the Flash. We'll do it in that order. But it's not going to. This is a very unstructured week for the after party, so don't expect a lot of stringent.
When was it structured? This is news.
Never, ever. I don't know. Cal Roswell. Caswell. I was going to say Coswell. Cal Roswell is a member for 6 months of Team Eric. Thank you so much, Cal, for the continued support. I do appreciate it. There's going to be a members only chat sometime in the next 3 days. So make sure you pay attention to the community tab. We're going to do something there. We need to pick another game night. That's something we haven't talked about. I want to do another game night with quizzes.
Maybe. Oh no, it's maybe when did we do it last time?
We did it on a Thursday. It was late on a Thursday night, which I would be okay with doing that if it's going to be later on a Thursday night. So maybe this upcoming Thursday, a little bit later.
Maybe we do that, yeah.
Because, like I said, I was telling you Thursday's like my only real day off during the week, but I don't mind if we do it later because I couldn't do it like this time of day.
Would you want to quickly address because people have been asking about the times and stuff like that, and
right?
Just changing the after party time.
Yeah.
Won't work.
I don't know how we could adjust it. Honestly, that's the problem because we can't do it. If I do it any later than Friday, like later in the week, would Saturday in the middle of the day work? But then that would be like in the middle of the night for you. Like
it would be like they're like 3 a.m. or something.
And I work Saturday night, so I can't really do it on a Saturday unless we do it at this time on a Saturday. So it would be the same time of day. So if it's the time of day that's affecting it, I don't see how we could change that because Fridays I have to be at work at like 9:00 my time, which means that right now when we end the after party tonight, I literally have to start getting ready and immediately leave for work, which is why I have a certain cutoff time for it. So I can't do it any later on Fridays unless I do it at like 3:00 in the morning. my
So that
time.
would be like the OG after party.
Yeah, it would be. And it would be that way for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because I work my other job. That is my primary work days is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Mondays is kind of my day to do stuff around the house and kind of, I don't know, get stuff done. And it kind of doesn't make sense to do the after party that late on a Monday because that's basically
May as well call it the
before party at
pre-game,
that
the
point.
pre-game or something
Yeah.
like that.
So at that point, then we have Tuesday with Superman and Lois. Can't do it that day. And then obviously on Wednesday with the Flash, can't do it that day. So I don't know where we would move it time wise. I mean, if I made it later on a Friday, it would make the stream shorter and we'd have to start at like 8 and be done at like 8:45. That's the latest I could do it. So literally it's kind of locked in at this time, unless we want to do it earlier. Earlier I can do, later I can't do. It just doesn't, it's not going to work. So if you guys have any, no, we're not moving it. We were discussing a change in time. And I was just giving examples of my days. So people that have questions about it, that's why we picked this time. Also, on Friday nights, I don't think everyone wants to show up during dinner time to watch this when they're probably spending their weekend with a significant other or they're going to a movie that just came out. Like, I feel like this is such a good time because it's right before everything sort of starts. And there are other streams that are later on weekend nights and they don't do, like, the numbers aren't really high. So I feel like going later might make things worse. So I don't know. You guys can leave your thoughts and opinions on this here in the chat or in the comments under the video.
Maybe 2 seconds. We'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, whatever you guys want to do. This is not something that I've thought about. This is something that people have mentioned about, like, changing the time, but I don't really see how, if we make it later on a Friday, later than now, it will be a much shorter stream, like much shorter, like an hour shorter than what it is now. Because we normally go for about an hour and a half ish. So yeah. And see, Amethyst, I can't do that on a Friday because I work on a Friday night. 11 o'clock is like the middle of my shift. I work that shift. So I don't know. Apparently there were people that were upset with the time of the after party, but I think it's been like 5:30, pretty much since 2 years now. So not totally sure. Anyway, just leave your opinions in the info box. We'll go through it and look at it later. Or you can hit us up on Twitter. That's really the only social media site that I see anything on. So it's simple. Buy a time machine. I know it is. Australia, yeah, it's in the morning. If you're in Australia, it's like what, 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, something like that. Are you not back yet, Paigey? I don't think Paigey's back.
I am.
Okay. In Australia, it's like
Subway delivered.
Oh, okay.
Taking a bite of it.
Isn't it like in the morning there, like 9 in the morning, something like
10
that?
a.m.
10 a.m.
10
So
to
yeah.
10.
So I guess the people complaining are people in my part of the world, because I can't imagine that people would be mad about it being in the middle of the morning. Like, that seems a little weird. All right. Anyway, if you guys have thoughts on it, just leave it in the comments below. That's all I can say. We'll see how things go, because we have, it's funny. I saw this right before I went live. They talked about the overnight ratings for The Flash this week, and John Wesley Shipp jumped in and he's like, okay, so let me explain. Those early ratings are not reflective of what the network looks at. They don't look at those. They look at the ratings over time, over a 7-day period, which I thought was kind of interesting. Lance actually retweeted it, and I thought that was funny. I'm like, so he actually chimed in and corrected people that didn't understand, because I know how it works. I'll retweet numbers for an overnight thing, but I realize that doesn't determine whether something is renewed or canceled or whatever. But you can look at the 7-day and determine how it is. So we won't really know till like next week whether or not the episode did its normal numbers. We don't know. We have no idea.
Yeah.
So, all right, Gamerman here. Thoughts on all the DCEU delays? I guess we could briefly talk about that. We don't have a ton to talk about, so we could talk about this before we get into the Gotham Knights casting. So Shazam was moved up to December 16th from 2023 back to 2022. But it looks like Flash and Aquaman were all pushed back into 2023. And Aquaman was supposed to come out, I believe, around the time that Shazam was coming out, which would have put it up against Avatar 2. Yeah. So as a fan of like most of this stuff, I feel bad for Shazam only because I think Shazam is being kind of handed an L already, honestly, against Avatar 2. Because I think even if we take into account that Shazam 2 is going to do well or it's going to be okay, I think putting it up against Avatar 2 is kind of a messed up situation, to be completely honest. So that's probably why they moved Aquaman. But what about, like, why do you think they moved the Flash? Because I'm pretty sure they moved Aquaman because they didn't want Aquaman up against Avatar. I'm pretty sure. Why did they move the Flash? Any particular reason, or
why they just move it in general?
Well, yeah, because I didn't see any reason for why they moved. I'm assuming why they moved Aquaman, but I didn't see any reason why.
Oh no,
they moved the Flash.
Came out like because James Wan sort of confirmed
that he's still working on it in post-production.
It's pretty much just because it's so VFX heavy.
Yeah,
that they would be rushing it, or they'd be putting just like strenuous hours on the VFX people. So the thing is, I'm a pretty patient person, so I don't really mind the delays. If it means you get a better product in the end, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not someone that like a month is a year or something like that. I'm pretty patient with everything. So
I will say it's kind of a blow to the gut for the people that were super excited this year because we were getting so much stuff. And then they just kind of said, oh, no, you're not. You're not getting it now. And I think it does suck a bit because it's one thing if they move like Aquaman. Say Aquaman got swapped with Shazam. I don't think people would. Yes, people would be disappointed, but they wouldn't be too upset. But now we're also losing the Flash movie. Like that's moving to 2023. And that to me is a bigger problem because that's just taking like all they did was swap basically Shazam and Aquaman. So yeah, it sucks, but we're still getting a movie in that spot. But the Flash is just moving. Like there's nothing going in place of the Flash. So the other thing is I think movies, when they move like this, they get super scrutinized. Like people go, well, you had an extra 6 months, you know?
Well, technically something is because Black Adam's going like to 2 weeks before the Flash would have come out. So something's going into the period where the Flash was coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even though it's not on the specific day,
general
it's still on that thing.
General thickness. There we go. Arrowverse says, I hope you're both doing well. I'm doing well. I guess Paige is doing well. So he's eating Subway. So I'm going to guess. It's funny you're eating Subway. I had a sub for lunch. So that's
great minds think alike, Eric. Great minds think alike.
There we go. I got mine from a place here called Wawa, though. I don't know if you have those in.
I've heard of it. We don't have it here.
So, yeah, it's actually really good. They're like super. They're very similar to Subway. They make everything fresh to order. So
the only other thing that's similar to Subway that they've started putting here from America is Jersey Mike's.
Oh yeah, we have those. We got a couple of them around here actually. So, but you guys, if they move movies around, don't assume the worst. Like there's not always some horrible, awful reason why a movie gets moved.
They've all filmed.
Yeah.
They've all filmed. It's not like they're moving it ahead like behind like 3 years or something. They've all filmed. They're all just being worked on.
Yeah. So they're still coming out. And to be honest, we have so much coming out this year. We will miss some of those, but I think we're going to have a lot of content to look at. So a lot of comments to look at, I should say. So thank you for the question. And people don't assume the worst. Twitter does. I'm not going to say that's wrong. It's absolutely a valid take. All right. So let's talk a bit about the Gotham Knights casting. So the first one I want to talk about is the siblings that got sent out. And this is over, let's see. I guess I'll just share the screen while we talk about it. Here we go. And I guess you guys can see that okay. Gotham Knights spinoff cast Cullen and Harper Row. And this came out on the 7th. So this is like about a week ago, almost a week ago. The CW's Gotham Knights pilot has cast its Row siblings. And we have the Fallon Smith as Cullen and Tyler DiChiaria? Tyler DiChiaria and Fallon Smythe as Cullen and Harper Row. Now, Smythe's Harper Row, who's in the comics is the costume Batman ally called Bluebird, is described as a streetwise, acerbic, and often underestimated. The blue-haired bisexual is a gifted engineer who can fix anything. But what Harper wants most of all is to repair the broken lives of her and her brother, Cullen, the only person she trusts. And DiChiara's Cullen Rowe. After years of hiding his true self from an abusive parent, the transgender teen is tired of being polite and agreeable, clever and adept at reading human nature. Cullen is ready to fight his own street battles. And that's really all we had, but that was enough to like send people into like a riot in, you know, certain circles. So what are your general thoughts on this? Do you have any real opinion about this casting or the descriptions or anything like that?
I've never seen any of the actors, so I don't know any of these actors from any of these castings. I've never heard of. I think there's in the next section. I think both of them might be from. I think one's from like a soap that people have watched, and one's from like a Nickelodeon or Disney show. But that's in like the next one with those other three castings. These two, I haven't heard really anyone's opinions on anything around them based off, you know, them actually instead of this description and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, the thing is that I think it's hard to understand like the context of these characters with just the description of the characters because we haven't seen the show yet. Like if this was a casting for Superman and Lois, we could go, well, how will they fit in? Because we don't, you know, we could kind of place where they're going to be. I have no idea what the vibe of the show is going to be. I have no idea. You can only go speculate it on the writers. Like I know Natalie is involved with it. So think of Batwoman, I guess, in terms of like the way the writing is going to go. I'm not totally sure, but a lot of people were freaking out over it. I don't think there's any reason to freak out yet because of the character descriptions, but that's not going to stop anybody. People are going to freak out anyway. But here's the other casting. These were the three other ones that came out shortly after that, maybe a day after that, day or two. It says this is from the Hollywood Reporter. CW's Gotham Knights cast trio of lead roles. Oscar Morgan, Olivia Rose Keegan, and Navia Robinson will star in the DC Comics pilot from a trio of Batwoman writers. So there we go. That's what I meant. Like Batwoman writers are the ones involved with this. So, which is also why it's weird that it's not connected to Batwoman. It's going to be so confusing for the people that watch this on the night because they're going to be paired together. These two shows, if Batwoman gets another season, they will be paired together. All right, it says the CW's pilot Gotham Knights cast three lead roles. One of the central characters of Bruce Wayne's adopted son. Oscar Morgan, Olivia Rose Keegan, and Navia Robinson will star in the drama, which comes from Batwoman writers Chad Fivish, James Stavro, and Natalie Abrams. The three actors joined the previously cast Fallon Smythe and Tyler DiChiara. Morgan will play Turner Hayes, whom Bruce Wayne adopted following the murder of Turner's biological parents. Resilient and determined to live up to his adoptive father's name, Turner has never felt more comfortable in Bruce's world of wealth and privilege. So this is going to be sort of the baby Bruce character. He's going to be basically a young Bruce Wayne, I'm guessing, in the way they're describing that. Any opinion on that at all? Or
well, the thing is that they nailed pretty much a lot of the casting predictions. Like I can't remember who did it that got the first descriptions of the characters before these actors came out, but they nailed pretty much every character, I think, except for this. They thought this was Dick Grayson.
Oh, so Keegan played on Days of Our Lives, High School Musical, the series. High School Musical, the series. Every time I saw that, I was like, why is that the title? Plays Duella, the unpredictable daughter of the most dangerous man in Gotham, who they're not going to name because why? Born in Arkham Asylum and above all a survivor, Duella is also a brutal fighter and skilled thief. Do you think they're going to go the route of like the Joker daughter thing, I guess is what they're saying?
Based on that description, I would say yes.
Yeah. Robinson, which is Raven's home, will play Carrie Kelly, an idealistic teenager who talked her way into being Batman's unlikely sidekick. She's the first to rush into a dangerous situation as long as she can make it home by curfew. So she's going to be kind of the Nora character, or to some degree the Bart character, kind of doing things impulsively and getting in trouble. This is another casting that I thought was a bit controversial because people were like, Carrie Kelly, isn't that the female Robin? And you know, I guess the casting for that got people up in arms about it. Any thoughts on that at all? Any of these castings?
The only one I'm sort of confused by is the first one with the dude, because Turner Hayes isn't a comic book character.
Mm-hmm.
There is a character called William Hayes, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's meant to be a villain.
Yeah, I think that character, like I said, I feel like he's going to be a young Bruce. at this point. I'm getting the feeling that this show, to me, and this is my early predictions on this, is going to be like a mix of Titans and Batwoman. Like, I feel like it's going to be like a slightly toned down Titans with like the level of writing we get at Batwoman. That's kind of the vibe.
Is that a knock on Batwoman or a knock on Titans?
It's kind of a knock on both of them, I guess. Because there's nothing in this show that tells me that I want to watch it.
The issue with this is that I wonder if they decided to go with this before they learned the issue that Naomi's having, where it's not in a connected universe and it's in a universe with, if you're being honest, no history. It feels like they're world building from the get go, but from that point forward, there's nothing in that past.
Right.
In Naomi, for example. And with this, I wonder if it's just like, oh yeah, Batman was here and he fought some villains, but everything that we're going to reference on the show is just going forward. And it's from, that date in 2022. And that can be an issue as well, especially if they do the thing which, we saw with Superman, Lois, and Naomi. They pair them together, the Superman aspect of Naomi paired with Superman and Lois. And then you're probably going to, I think you're right, and everyone else that's thinking it as well. Like, they're probably going to pair Batwoman and Gotham Knights on the same night. If it does go past the pilot progress.
So another thing is, and Robert, I'm going to pull up your comment here in a second, because I didn't watch anybody this week, but I do want to comment on it. I think this is a little bit weird that we keep getting these completely disconnected shows. It almost feels like they've given up on adding anything new to the Arrowverse, which is
that's an issue. I think you're pretty much putting stuff out to be dead on arrival.
Yeah,
because
the Diggle show would be well received. Everybody loves Diggle. Like, why
here's
are we
the
not,
thing: if they did, let's even use Peacemaker for an example. If they just did Peacemaker without the connection to the Suicide Squad and it was just its own show, do you think it would have done as well?
No.
Because people bought into it because it was connected. It was actually like the first DCEU series. Whether you liked it or not, or whether it was the same quality or not, people bought into it more because it was in that connected universe.
It's like their Disney Plus it's like WandaVision was for.
And I think that's
Disney
why
Plus.
Doom Patrol, for example, struggles as well. Because people that watch Doom Patrol like it, but it's not a very popular show. Like, I never see anyone talking about it. I never see it trending. Even when a trailer comes out, I never see anyone talking about it.
Right.
Imagine if it was in the same unit, like the literal same Earth as Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they crossed over or not, or whether it was one character or something like that.
So I also think it's weird. Why would you get all of the people that work on Batwoman to work on this show, but then not make it a connected world? That doesn't.
Well, it's a bit odd, especially because all three are from Batwoman. It's not like one's from Batwoman, one's from Superman and Lois, one's from Legends or something, and they came together. They're all from Batwoman, which is something that like you'd expect like a spin-off to do or something. It's like, and
I'll be honest, Batwoman isn't singing. It's not getting high praises at the moment. So you've got a team of people that worked on Batwoman to work on this other Gotham show, and you're struggling to pull in people for Batwoman.
Yeah, it's not like you're getting Superman and Lois writers, like 2 or 3 of them, and they're making Metropolis Warriors or whatever the show would be, you know, and it's coming off, a show that's thriving and everything like that. It's from Batwoman, which is, it's in a rebuild process still.
Mm-hmm. Also, another thing is, I feel like this might be the first victim of like the oversaturation of the Gotham world. I think this might be the show that comes out where it just doesn't, because even Batwoman, when it first came out with all the problems it had, it got a lot of views initially because people wanted to see what it was. I don't see any interest. Like, this doesn't seem to be, the promotion just isn't there. I don't see it, honestly. I feel like even Titans gets more promotion than this gets, and they barely get any. This almost feels, what do you mean? What
do you mean by promotion?
Like this, I don't see any. Like, where is all the buzz about this show? Like, there's nothing.
It's pretty rare you get buzz too much heading into a pilot, because people you don't get a casting doesn't really get that much buzz. Except
that's true,
especially unless they get a name. But obviously, this is meant to be an ensemble cast, so buzz doesn't really arrive until you get a trailer. Like, no one was talking about Superman and Lois. Everyone was shitting on Superman and Lois until the first trailer came out. So until you get a trailer for it, I don't. Yeah, like you can't really even discuss.
Well, I guess that promotion is the wrong thing. I think like community interest in this is what I really mean. Like I don't see a lot of people in our circle who really care about the show. Like even less so than Naomi before Naomi came out.
Well, with me and you, we know why.
What do you mean? Because of the Arrowverse connection?
No, it's because we're sort of sick of all this focus on Batman stuff. It's very lazy
yeah, absolutely.
It's literally done just so I can get an easy
Yeah.
picker. I would much rather see Justice U happen because it seems like a cool, thing, especially to have in the Arrowverse. But Gotham Knights itself is set out of the Arrowverse, and it just feels like, just like that easy pitch. So it's Batman. You can use Gotham in the title. Ching, ching, ching. Let's go.
Yeah. Cody had a Team Eric chat just a bit ago. He goes, delays make sense because the merger went through. He's talking about the Discovery and WB merger. So was that listed as a reason why they delayed everything, or I didn't see that, but I think
possible. That was like a theory. The main thing would be literally so they can the movies can get properly done.
Yeah. All right, before we talk about Superman and Lois, Robert came in. He goes, the pacing on Naomi was shocking this week. I love the exposition, but two superpowered beings just keep needing to stop for a breath every 5 seconds to have a flashback. No, just get it all done and move on. Naomi is pretty much, I have lost all faith. Like, it's their first, if your show is, in my opinion, doing this poorly in the first season in terms of like your storytelling, then I don't have a lot of faith in it. It's your first season. Like, I don't know. Are you still watching Naomi? Did you watch it this week?
I watched both because I told you like last week the streaming service is almost like glitching out. But the episode,
what are your thoughts on it? Because I'm not watching
both episodes yesterday. Episode 6 was probably one of the better episodes of the season when there's a lot of like just revelations, but then they try to play those revelations out into the past week's episode where you learn Zimbado's backstory and everything like that. But it was done in such a way compared to the comics. Like, if you're going to do it in such a way, don't make it this big build up. That should have been like episode 4 or 5. That thing. It just made Zimbado a more menacing presence. Unless, like, I don't know if there's a twist coming or anything like that. Like, that's just to wait and find out. But I also hate the way that they're doing fight scenes in regards to the visual effects. It's like all zoomed in. Like you just see like
that was a big problem for me. After I noticed that's what they're doing, I was like, I
don't know if they're filming it in wider lenses and then just like don't think they can do the VFX in a better way, or maybe the stunt work they did on set just didn't match what they want to do with the VFX, so they just zoom in or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with like they kept like they'll go into like fire escape and they'd stop, and then like Zimbado can like what was it like telepathic memories. Like I can't remember what the actual term was, but it was like so actually Naomi could see what like his memories. And yeah, I thought it could have been done much better. It wasn't terrible. It just definitely wasn't like anything to remember.
Are you ready for a hot take? You ready for a hot take?
Yeah. Well, every take's a hot take from DJ Eric.
I don't think the people, not just Ava, but anyone on the show really understands how to make superhero television. I think that's the problem. I think
because I'm pretty sure they brought Jill Blankenship specifically over because she did.
I mean, but do you know what I'm saying? Like the close-up shots for the VFX and the all the talking and the weird progression of the story. I feel like they want the benefits of doing a superhero show without ever committing to being a superhero
because
show.
The lead actress is actually pretty solid.
Yeah. They nailed her casting. Naomi's casting is perfect.
Yeah, like she's very, very solid. And even I think Zimbado is like half decent if the writing around that character was just a bit better. But once again, like I don't know how many episodes of this season. I'm assuming 13. So that was the halfway point of the season. And I don't know what the end goal is. Like I'm not too sure. Like I personally think what we've just had should have been like 3 episodes ago, or at least 2 episodes ago, and that sort of goes into the pacing of it all. I don't think each episode is specifically poorly paced. I just think it's the actual show as a whole so far this season, where it feels like 4 episodes of content should have been the first 3, or 5 in the first 3, or whatever it might be.
Like mystery to me isn't just withholding information and dragging it out. That's not mystery to me. That's just dragging it out. Like mystery is building up questions give us an answer and then create another question out of that answer. And that's how you keep people coming back and watching. It's not just withholding information for like 7 episodes. Like that isn't mystery to me.
Do you think with Ava DuVernay, sorry, there's a plane going over. I'm like literally under a fly path now that travel's back. There's just planes going over nonstop. Do you think Ava DuVernay, maybe with Jill Blankenship or just by herself, wrote the story for this season? So the main plot elements, the main story with Naomi as a character and what she does, and maybe these side characters blend into it at certain points, but it's just mainly Naomi's story, almost like a movie.
Right.
And then all these staff writers had to write episodes around it, and that's why it feels so stretched out. So if it was a movie, it would be like a 90 minutes to 2 hour movie, but now they have to stretch it out over 40 odd minute episodes.
Yeah,
so
something
it was
is
over
weird.
500 odd minutes of content to stretch out what would have been like a 500 minutes. What am I talking about?
It also makes me wonder, like, if you look at what Naomi is and you look at New Gods, they are so vastly different properties. What was the conversation that went, like, because New Gods isn't happening, and then Naomi happens, and then Naomi's not that great, and it builds up all these questions about like what happened there with her and New Gods, and what was the real story, and how did she get put on this project? And because Naomi is a story that you can lean into like the human aspect of it, which is what they're doing, but with New Gods you couldn't do that. So I shudder to think what New Gods would have been if this is what we got from Naomi. I mean,
well, I think New Gods was just the fact that they wanted to. I don't think New Gods was actually that far into it, because the thing is, if they had just written a script, then that's not far enough into development. Development would be actually casting characters and everything like that, and fleshing out a world and connecting and maybe putting other references in other movies and everything like that. That's development to me. Like writing a script, there'll be that many freaking superhero movie scripts lying in a graveyard somewhere right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little bit confused with Naomi. I mean, obviously there's some people that are enjoying it, and that's fine, but I think it's pretty clear the vast majority of people that watch the DC stuff on that network aren't really interested in Naomi. And this is being put behind Superman and Lois, which is one of the most watched shows. Do you think that it would have done better if they would have actually combined like if Naomi would have existed on Earth Prime and that story would have just taken place in her little community and it would have been connected to the Arrowverse? Do you think it would have done better, or do you think it wouldn't have mattered?
Yeah, probably. I think it would have. I think even if it didn't overly connect that much, but just the fact that it would be there, maybe, and you could use Tyler Hoechlin's Superman as the Superman that she looks up to, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, I just don't know what they do going forward, like in season 2 and stuff like that. Like, does she get a super suit? You know, does she actually get proper control of her powers? I mean, we're in episode 7 now, and she can't do anything unless she's like standing in Star Labs, which is weird. How Star Labs is a thing, but nothing else from the comics exists.
Right.
That was one thing that threw me off. I was like, wait, hold on, what?
Why does Star Labs exist in a world where these places aren't real and it's all comic books? That doesn't make any sense.
And
so is there no Star Labs in the Flash comics?
And Star Labs exists conveniently in Portland or something like that. It exists in Oregon.
I didn't think about that. That's a really good point.
What a random place to have Star Labs, this big futuristic scientific facility.
So Star Labs is a real world place in Naomi, but in Naomi's lore, comic books exist. So
did they get the ideas from the comic books? Hey, Star Labs is a pretty good name.
My mind is
like that threw me off. That was
I didn't think about that, honestly. Yeah. And you know me, I usually nitpick, but I didn't even think about that, honestly. That's a good point.
I out nitpicked the nitpicker.
You did. You definitely did that. Anyway, if you love Naomi, keep supporting it. I mean, if you wanted to grow,
I'm still watching it. Like, the thing is that I just usually watch it when I have some free time, or
I just can't,
or something like that.
I can't do it. I've tried. I fall asleep watching that show. I can't.
But it's just like, for me, I think there's like there's just a loss of potential. Like, I don't know if the show, like, the potential was a 10 out of 10. I don't think it was, because even then with the comics, it was like, there's not like a massive.
Mike Glitz says this week's episode of Naomi should have been the first episode. That's funny.
I don't agree with that, but I think it should have been like maybe like the 4th episode or something. But and they should have condensed it. Like you wasted an episode going on that camping trip.
That was a dumb. That was the episode where I dialed. That the first 10 minutes of that was when I said
that was just like a waste. That was episode 5, I think. So you just wasted 40 odd minutes of viewers' time with that.
Cody, that's not really what I'm concerned about. It's the fact that there's there could be multiple. There could be Star Labs could have multiple locations.
But it's just convenient that it's like next to this thing. But one thing is that I don't like any of the supporting kids outside of maybe that Annabelle, who's her friend. Like, I think she's fine. The 2 dudes who are like meant to be these love interests are not very good at all.
Right.
And Naomi being with either of them just makes you roll your eyes. Like, why are you? I know she's a teenager and stuff, and you don't really think too much, but at the same time,
if you watch Naomi before Superman and Lois, the Superman and Lois will never disappoint. I mean, it never disappoints me anyway. But that's a pretty funny comment. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to talk about Superman and Lois now. The episode was episode 7, titled Anti-Hero, and the synopsis was: Superman pleads with Lieutenant Anderson investigate Allie Alston. Lois receives... No, was that the right one? Yeah, it was. I feel it doesn't mention anything about the being locked up. Okay.
Because the synopsis came out before the last episode.
Yeah. I guess they didn't want to give that away. Jordan is still irritated with Jonathan for lying to him. So the premise of the episode, basically, we have Superman locked up with Tal-Rho at the end of the last episode. And what I think was some of the best interactions they've had. Like, you get to see they actually have good chemistry. The 2 characters together. And Tal is pleasantly surprised that Clark is locked up and has to deal with what he has to deal with. And, that's the way it is. And Lieutenant Anderson is trying to get answers from them. How did you expect this to go down? Did you think Tal was going to be like, I hate you, Clark, you ruined my life? Or did it kind of happen exactly the way you expected, where they sort of came to terms to work together to get out of the cell?
Yeah, it sort of played out how I thought it would roughly go. I mean, Superman doesn't trust Lieutenant Anderson anyway, so it's not like there's going to be any second guessing whether he's doing the right thing or not.
Yeah. So the other thing is that we find out here that Tal comes up with his own little scheme and tells them fake information. He's like, oh, it's in the fortress, which is actually Kal-El's fortress. And after going there, they find the armor, which Superman didn't know that Bizarro was there, right? I mean, that was
no. He hadn't been to he'd been to Tal's fortress, but he hadn't been to his because there's no point. It's dead. I mean, Jor-El the crystal got destroyed, so there's no point going back there.
Yeah. So that's how Anderson determines that they must be working together, which I will say isn't the most far-fetched conclusion from finding the armor, but of course he's already mistrusting Superman. So anything he finds that's going to confirm how he feels, he's going to run with. And so we have that happening. And then on the outside, we have the stuff with Jonathan and Lois and the general and the school and all of that happening. And basically, do you think Jonathan's going to get expelled from school? Do you think that's going to be the rest of the season? He's going to be homeschooled or something like that?
I'm not too sure. But man, we have to say, Jonathan, look, we're all in support of you. We all want you to do well. But for this to work, you can't be a simp. You've got to stop with this simping over this girl who clearly doesn't overly care for you.
She doesn't care about him. Let's be clear here. I don't think she cares about him at all.
This is no simp Superman and Lois, okay? We're in a no simp year. We've just gone through a pandemic. We're trying to get out of it. No simping, okay?
Why do you think that he is so beholden to her? What do you think the reason is? Do you think he really cares about her, or does he just not want to be that person that gets her in trouble? Is there is there something we're missing? Here?
Well, my thought was maybe it was maybe the thing you said before, how everyone's got these things going on. He doesn't really, even with football, he was sitting on the sideline all the time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So maybe having a girlfriend is his only
I still feel like she looks a lot older than a teenager. I think she looks like a college kid. That's what I think. She doesn't really fit in with that. I mean, I guess she could be younger, but she's giving me this I go to college vibe. And it's just a little weird. So every time I see her, I'm like, she looks a little too old to be in high school. But Anyway, no offense to her, because I'm sure she's a lovely person, but you're selling XK in high school, so I don't have much sympathy for you outside of that. But yeah, so he's got that going on, and Jordan obviously didn't say anything, which I think we talked about this last week. I was like, do you think Jordan is going to say anything? And he didn't. So then that makes Lois even more upset when she finds out that Jonathan is doing this because Jordan kind of kept it to himself. And she's dealing with so she's got that happening, and she's dealing with the fact that Clark is locked up inside this government facility. So
what a day.
I mean, yeah.
Day.
And I think I don't want to stop saying it because I want to give her credit, but Elizabeth is so good as Lois. Like, every time she's given something to really chew on as an actress, like, she just 100% nails it. Her reaction to Jonathan, I think, was one of the emotional, over the top, one of the best scenes that we've had this season with Lois. And we've had a lot of really good scenes. So, but the question is, do you feel bad for Jonathan? That's kind of the real question, because ultimately at the end of the day, he feels completely insignificant to everyone else in his family and even the people at school. Do you think that it was handled correctly, incorrectly? Because then we have Clark coming in at the end and sort of yelling at him as well and saying, making him feel bad, as it shaming him from the family. How do you feel about that and how it was handled with the characters?
No, you know what? Jonathan, you deserved it. If you fall for the sim trap in this day and age, I'm sorry, but you get what you get what you deserve. It's at this point, it's so clear. Like, Jordan needs to heat vision slap his head and go, "Hey, get back in line."
Yeah. So that was one of the things in my review I mentioned that I like his explanation for why he did it makes sense, and people thought I was excusing him for doing it. I'm like, no, he's still screwed up.
Wow,
I'm just saying,
Eric the drug advocate. Wow,
exactly.
Wow.
So, but yeah, Gemma Simmons did a great job directing. That's
Did you see the chalk in the episode?
I did not. I missed the chalk.
Okay, you have to
go back and watch it. Yeah, that's not a problem. I love Superman and Lois. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that and where that goes, and of course, the stuff with Jordan and Sarah. What did you think about that storyline? That particular side of the storyline? With what was going on with Sarah and how that's all going to play out? Because I honestly didn't see that coming. To be completely honest,
the girl from camp came to town.
Yeah. I thought she was going to talk to Natalie because it seemed that seemed like the perfect opportunity for her to bring Natalie back in and have a conversation with her. But then I thought, well, Natalie's dealing with her father in the hospital, so I don't know if she's going to be available to talk about parent. Could you imagine how that would have went down? Like, her father's in the hospital, with this traumatic event, and you're going to call and talk to me about how you don't want to speak to your father. After I thought of it that way, I'm like, that probably would not have been the best thing to do. But anyway.
Well, you love drama, so I'm not surprised you thought that up.
I do. But yeah, did you expect to see that character? Because I honestly thought we had moved beyond that.
Well, I thought we might eventually see her, but I wasn't expecting it in this way.
Yeah. I think it's going to hurt Jordan's feelings. He's going to be really upset about this if she doesn't come clean about it. The longer she pretends or doesn't tell him about it and acts like it's not happening, the worse it's going to be for her and Jordan in the end. So we'll see where that goes. I guess we'll figure out what's happening with the drama with Kyle and Lana and Sarah and everything as the season. It's moving at a very weird pace. So we'll figure out where all that goes. But ultimately, what we have is we have an escape from the security facility to go back to the fortress to talk to Bizarro and kind of get Tal, bring him in on everything that's happening and figure out a way to fix this problem with Allie. And we got some interesting information. We're going to talk about the fight and stuff, but we found out that on Bizarro's world, Tal and him were actually, I think he said close brothers originally. They were tight, and then Tal's wife tried to kill Bizarro, which immediately makes you think, is his wife Allie? Because that would be the first thought that would come to mind. But do you think that's a red herring? Do you think that's just them playing up what's happening? Or what do you think about that? Do you have any theories about who his wife is? Or
well, for some reason I thought it might have been Lana.
Okay. because of the battle in the base where she was
Yeah, she was
one of
obviously part of the government, so she would have been out hunting Bizarro, presumably.
Mhm.
But it makes you wonder, like, does that mean that Tal-Rho and Superman end up becoming really good brothers in this show on our Earth?
Mhm.
Because it's the opposite over there.
Yeah, so Quindle there says Anderson proved me wrong, like he has to go. Lana here. Somebody else said Lana. So a lot of people are leaning towards Lana. That's interesting. Laura said I saw an article talking about John Henry and Lana might date. What?
No, there was in this. I think there was something that came out, like a synopsis or an interview or something that teased. I think it was a synopsis for episode 10 or something, or episode 9. It said something about that.
Yeah.
I don't think it actually means too much. I think it's just,
Yeah.
you never know.
So then we get the big fight at the end where we have Anderson show up at the fortress. Now, did I miss how he knew where they were?
Say that again.
How did Anderson know where they were?
They got a tracker on Superman.
That's it. Okay. Because that's what I thought. I said, I think they mentioned a tracker, but I wasn't totally sure. So I know he showed up and I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. And then I read that,
And they said, in the Badlands or whatever it is.
Yeah. So he's there. Anderson shows up. He has the kryptonite weapons, which he shoots into the cave, which obviously affects Tal and Superman. And then he's taking XK, which I did not expect that. I mean, he raided the facility and took all this equipment, which, by the way, he'll never work for the government again. This was a big one. So he's going to be on the run.
Yeah, this is like walking into Eric's dance club and doing the sprinkler, like not doing a chalk, not twerking, no dabbing, no milli rocking, but doing this. Can you, for evidence sake, can you do a sprinkler so people know what we're talking about? That's more spirit hands.
Is that better?
I don't know. Well, there's a GIF. Enjoy that. Whoever wants to make that into a GIF.
Whoever wants to make that one into one, it'll show up somewhere. Anyway, but yeah, so he shows up and he's like going at him. Obviously, they're affected by the kryptonite. He's taking XK. And I couldn't remember if XK also had the same weaknesses, if it was also affected by kryptonite, but I guess it's not.
No, I think you actually have to be Kryptonian for kryptonite to affect you.
So he's doing all that, and then we get the gunshot towards Superman, and surprise, surprise, Tal jumps in the way of the gun.
That was the only thing I thought. I rolled my eyes when that happened. I was like, "Oh, how cliche!"
It was.
Slow motion diving in front of a bullet. No! But obviously they were having fun with it. I just thought they're having some fun with it. Okay, whatever. It's not meant to be overly, Well, he survives as well.
To be fair, they needed something to keep Clark occupied while the next part happened, and this was the only way they could really do it. Plus, I'll be honest, I don't think Tal-Rho can totally redeem himself, but this was one of those things where it's like, now you don't feel so bad about Superman saving his life, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, so then we get the battle of Bizarro versus Anderson, and Anderson at the beginning is like, nothing he's doing is working, like all the normal stuff you would do to fight a Kryptonian. And while this is going on, Clark is taking Tal out to the sun to save him, which, by the way, I talked about this in the video, and I don't know if it was ever addressed, but in Supergirl, if you fly outside of the upper atmosphere, you can't survive in space. They have no propulsion or anything, which is why they had to make that suit for Supergirl to wear. But in this version, Superman seems to be able to fly wherever he wants to, and I don't think it's ever been addressed. Do you think it's just a creative decision? They were just like, we want to do stuff that Supergirl didn't do, so we're just gonna do what we want. Do you think that's the case, or?
Yeah, I think that's.
I don't think we'll ever get an accurate description of why that is.
And it might even be that in the Supergirl reason, it might have been like, oh, that's why she can't like fly to Argo, just like go and just go. Ooh,
definitely, but
something.
It could also be because of Crisis, because we never saw that affect anything post Crisis. So maybe that's why they can do it. I don't know. I prefer them being able to fly in space, but Supergirl was always weird when they couldn't do that. So anyway, so he goes up to basically take Tal up to the sun so he can heal. And then he has to use his heat vision for the bullet. No, the bullets is first, and then he takes him to the sun. Okay, so that's the order of events. But while that's going on, that's not the important part. We had Bizarro fighting Anderson, and Surprise, surprise, Anderson starts to get the edge on Bizarro and kills Bizarro. I mean, I know we have more stuff coming with that character down the road. So, like, really?
Yeah.
Do you think he's gone for good? Do you think that's it? Or
well, he got choked out. I mean, unless Superman's. Well, the thing is that if we go off like Death of Superman, like he never actually died.
right.
So I wonder if that's going to be. Hold on. Is this going to be the theory craft of the century?
What is that?
Okay. So you know how we were led to believe they were doing Doomsday this season, which made us think, Death of Superman arc. What if they do this thing with Bizarro where, because, the Kryptonians don't actually really die.
Right.
So he gets rejuvenated and comes out like we saw Superman in Death of Superman, but it's Bizarro, black suit Bizarro.
Yeah, that could work. Or what if Bizarro comes back as Doomsday? What if it's a double?
Well, there you go. It could be either or. And now he's improved and can't be taken down by ex-Kryptonite or Kryptonite.
Right.
Because he evolves when he dies. And also, we don't know the explanations as to why he has these markings on his face.
Right.
And all these people on his Earth don't. So was he going through some experimental crap? Because he was taking, on his Earth, Kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wonder.
White suit Bizarro. Yeah, it's the opposite. It's not black suit Bizarro, white suit Bizarro. I bet you Ben's watching. He's going to steal this video.
Gary with the $1.99 super chat. Do you think all the CW shows will be renewed? Well, we saw an article about some stuff being on the bubble, and it looks like a couple of the ones that we expect to be renewed will. But I believe like Legends and Batwoman are both kind of still on the bubble, right? They're not renewed or canceled yet.
They're on the bubble, but like those shows ended with completely open endings.
That's true.
Neither felt like even there's that interview that everyone's going around with Eric Wallace. I'm like, I'm sorry, if Legends or Batwoman didn't finish with a somewhat serious finale finishing thing, why do you expect the Flash to? And also season 7 did that as well. Just sort of ended without any cliffhanger or anything like that.
Yeah. There's also an article with Eric Wallace that people keep sending me. I'm going to do a video on it, but I don't think it means what everybody thinks it means. So
just to keep everyone, I think I said this last week. They can't say anything until the CW does. So they have to just be under the assumption of, oh yeah, we're not getting renewed until it actually is renewed. You know what? Guess what other show hasn't been renewed? We're talking about it right now.
Superman and Lois, yeah.
Yeah. Is that getting canceled?
Yeah. So Superman could fly in space. Yeah. I mean, there was something that Supergirl did. And yes, there was a Supergirl suit for Kryptonite, but it was also, she could not fly outside of the Earth's atmosphere.
But could she twerk in the atmosphere?
She could, though. She could,
okay,
absolutely.
Well, there you go. There's some revelations.
Mike Glenn with the 499 super chat and a Team Eric member. Jonathan is half Kryptonian, aka has temporary powers from the XK, but certainly have humans permanent Superman like powers. Brain swap people had powers. Oh, you mean from like the Eradicator program and whatnot? Yeah, I still don't understand why Jonathan doesn't have some type of powers. That feels a little weird to me because it's not just a metahuman thing. He's literally half Kryptonian. So I don't totally understand why. Maybe we'll get an answer for that at some point. Let's see. We have a super chat here from Bhavin Patani. 499 super chat. Should green kryptonite work under red solar radiation? I asked that question in my video, and some people had different responses for that. I don't know. I think the red sun would actually make them as if they were on Krypton, but apparently some people were saying that kryptonite is just bad for them in general, but they live on a planet that's filled with kryptonite. So I mean, that would basically mean they're always walking around poisoned by kryptonite, right? If kryptonite works under red solar radiation.
No, it wasn't like kryptonite just a mineral that wasn't attached to the main thing.
I thought
kryptonite, it depends on each different interpretation of the Superman law.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is we don't on the show. Obviously, we don't know. But in general, I was thinking like kryptonite is part of their planet, just like we have minerals and crystals and things on our planet. And when it exploded, that's where kryptonite came from and how it arrived here. So if it came from their planet and they are under a red star, and that's why they don't have superpowers, then if they're walking around on a planet that has kryptonite in it, wouldn't that mean that they're constantly being bombarded with the effects of kryptonite? Right? Because they have all different color kryptonites come from Krypton, and they all do different things. And if they're on their planet under a red sun, that means none of that stuff should work, because that would be weird. People walk around and all of a sudden red kryptonite affects them and blue kryptonite affects them and black kryptonite affects them. Like, it would be weird if that happened. So I was under the impression that kryptonite just doesn't work on Kryptonians under a red sun. But then in this scene, we saw that the collar worked on him under red solar energy. So I'm like, that seems a little weird, but I wasn't totally like, oh, that can't possibly work, because we don't know how that works in this world. But it would be weird if all the kryptonite on Krypton did all the things that it did to people here. You just walked around, all of a sudden red kryptonite affects you and you're acting like you're, a rock and roll star or something. Like, it just doesn't, it's, I'm a little confused about that as well. But I don't know. Maybe in this world it does. That's the only thing I can think of. Ambeth is here with the 49 super chat. I still think Allie is a form of granny goodness. She had a cult following, so this could be their take on it. We may get a Doomsday and more. Do you think? I still see people saying that about granny goodness and Allie. I don't know if that's the case, but they've tricked us before, so I'm not going to unequivocally say no, it can't happen. But I feel like they're doing a different take on Parasite. Is that your opinion on it? Or
yeah, I think it's just Parasite. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting theory, Amethyst. We'll see what happens. Thank you for the super chat. Lance with the 999 super chat. All the showrunners have been saying this stuff and people are so gullible. I guess you mean like the stuff from like Eric Wallace and whatnot. Look, if anything, the showrunners are consistently inconsistent. You never, like, they say stuff that's so vague sometimes and so completely, you can make what you want out of it. Because like Paigey says, they can't always, they're under contract. They can't just give answers to every single question. So they're going to come up with something colorful to keep everybody guessing. So, and again, we'll talk about that more in my video, because I have a lot to say about it and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about that now. So, but back to the episode. So we have the stuff with Bizarro and him, possibly getting killed off. And then we have obviously Tal-Rho getting locked back up and Superman no longer being chased by the government. And then we get that surprise ending, the big like what if thing that I guess we'll find out. Then wait, it's skipping a week, right? It's not out next week, it's week after.
Nothing new next week, no.
So we're gonna find out what the effects of those pendants are when they come together, because Anderson showed up to where out, I guess just outside of her house, or I didn't really know where it was, but wherever she was, he showed up and gave her the other half of the pendant, and now she's going to have both pieces. So what are your theories on this? Do you think she's going to merge with the other universe? Do you think she's going to be able to travel back and forth at whim? Like, how do you think this is going to affect her?
I don't know. I'm really curious as to what this means, because she has both pendants. Like, I guess it's really up to Anderson and everything like that, what he does. But like, it's still that was not even the halfway point. Next episode is the halfway point of the season. Wait, like at this moment, we're not even halfway through the season. Yeah, it feels like we're in the final act of the season.
No knock on Naomi, but this is what I mean. Like, we are excited every week watching Superman and Lois while they're still building mystery, and they don't have to hide stuff all the time. They can actually create questions and answers or whatever. This is how you build mystery on a show. This show understands that. That's why I love this show so much. I think the storyline keeps us guessing, and sometimes they'll go in the direction we think they're going to go, and sometimes it's completely opposite of that, which is why this whole Bizarro reveal was such a big deal. And so I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with it right now. I'm curious what this means. Is Allie going to become full-on Parasite now? Is she going to get meta powers? What is this actually going to do? Because, Superman, Bizarro, warned us that this is going to make her extremely powerful. I guess they picked a good episode to give us a week off, because now we're going to be theorizing for the next 2 weeks. I mean, who knows? Supergirl could show up, right? Can we make a video about that? Supergirl's going to show up.
Don't put ammo in the chamber, please. Seriously, I don't think I can handle after the week I've had with that type of stuff.
We could have a Bizarro Supergirl. That could be what's going on.
We already had that in season 1, and it was not very good. So.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. You're right. So, all right. So, in the chat, give your score for Superman and Lois. What would you score this from a scale of 1 to 10? I really enjoyed this episode. I think this season has been just as strong as season 1, maybe even stronger than season 1. Would you say right now at this point you think it's stronger than season 1 or about the same compared to where we were in season 1 at the halfway point?
You know I don't like doing this, Eric.
I know.
I'm not going to answer.
I didn't say give a score. I'm just saying, like,
no. This is. You can't just move the goalposts, Eric. You know I don't like giving these type of answers, so I'm gonna wait till the season is over.
He's gonna wait till the season's over. I would say that I'm actually enjoying this season a little bit more.
The thing I can say is that this season it has more twists and turns and everything like that. Like I'm not too sure exactly.
Okay, so do you think that's a lesson they learned in season 1 that the fans like the twists and turns? And so
well, that's the thing. I think Superman and Lois is slowly becoming a hype show. Season 1, it was not a hype show. Right. Season 2, it's slowly becoming more like what The Flash is, where even if like it's a meh episode, there will just be a stinger at the end to make you go, you've locked me in, you've roped me in, I'm in next week.
Well, the other thing is, and I think this is another probably shouldn't say this because I think this is going to cause drama.
Edgy.
But we realize now that Tyler Hoechlin has been Superman longer than any other Superman. Like not Clark Kent, but as Superman. Yeah, as Superman. Yep.
Is that a message to the Snyder cultists? Or
I'm not saying anything. It's information I'm providing.
Because to me, it seems like that's a paging Snyder cultist.
It's information that I'm providing, so people can take that for whatever they want, and however they want to take that. All right, so we're gonna move on and talk about this week's episode. The Flash has returned. It's ran back into our hearts and our minds and back into our TV screens. And this episode was called. And I got this backwards when I wrote my title card for my video. I put excessive impulsive disorder, but it's actually impulsive excessive disorder, which I guess would mean the same thing no matter what order you put those in. But this was a flashless episode of The Flash. I believe was this considered an interlude episode? I think it's one of the interlude episodes.
Yeah, this next week, and I think episode 8. But the thing is that like the way that Eric Wallace has talked about it, it seems like though they're interlude episodes, they still play into the graphic novels.
Which is what I wanted from them. Yeah. I'm glad they did that. So yeah, it was a bottle episode, but the bottle had some holes in it. So some of this was leaking out into the rest of the season. And this was a Bart and Nora episode, and did not have a lot of Barry in it at all. I think he was at the very beginning, then he was in the middle, and then in the end. That was it. Was
like
right?
Imagine a Big Mac.
Yeah.
And Barry is the buns. So you have the top, the middle, and the bottom, and that's where Barry was in the episode. So maybe Eddie is a piece of lettuce.
So I have to say, as absurd as that is, that's actually a really good analogy. So I'm going to let you have that one because that's a good one. So
is that Eric's your favorite analogy? The Big
Mac?
It
is because when you said the bun and then you said the middle, I thought yes, there's a bun in the middle of a Big Mac. So like that. Totally worked for me. So anyway, so this episode, like this one, and I think next week is probably going to annoy me even more. But this coming into this,
I can't wait for next week because I can tell I'm probably going to enjoy it just because it's silly, and you're going to hate it because it's silly.
Yeah, if it goes too far. So there were things I liked about this episode. Like first of all, let me go into this with a non-edgy opinion first. Starting out is. I actually enjoy the chemistry between Bart and Nora. I think it's better. I think she's a better character because of Bart. And I think the two of them together make for an interesting combo. Is that fair to say? I think
like they are a dynamic duo.
They are a set of tornado twins. That's what they are. So yes, they're a dynamic duo. I think they work really well together. If I think either one of them by themselves, I probably would have not been as engaged in the episode, especially Nora, because I think Nora as a character kind of needs another person to play off of. But it was good to see her in a position where she was the one coming up with good ideas instead of being the one making all the mistakes. But I felt bad for Bart because obviously Bart was making quite a few mistakes in this episode. But there was a lot of good chemistry between them, and we got to see a lot of fun moments with the two of them. And I actually think there were two really good scenes. The scene where Bart was upset that he was never going to live up to his father, I thought was a really, really good scene. And the scene where Nora was searching for the explosives and, needed sort of reassurance that she could do it. And then being able to pull that out at the end was another really good scene. So I enjoyed both of those. How did you feel about the chemistry and the banter between the characters?
Good, but you got that from last season. Even their first scene together last season when they run in at the end of the episode, I knew then. I was like, oh, well, they're going to work. Like they're going to work together whenever they're.
Oh, you mean like when we saw them in the future in the first scene together or whatever? Is that?
No, remember in season 7, at the end, and Nora runs in and Barry's surprised, and then Bart runs in.
Oh, that scene, yes, yeah.
And then the next episode, you could see them in the future before they ran back.
Right. I thought you meant the future scene.
No, but just that end scene of that episode in season 7, I was like, oh, well, they're going to work together. Yeah. You can just tell.
And in reality, I know that there's going to be parts of this that I'm talking about that people are not going to agree with me. They had a lot of fun playing these characters, and I have to give them credit. They gave me, like, especially Bart, in that role he gives me that energy that Grant had in like seasons 1 and 2, like really wanting to be there and be a hero and put on the costume and all of those things. I got that same energy from that vibe from him. And so, I thought, is this like a pitch for a spinoff series? That's what I thought. Like this whole episode to me felt like this is them not doing a backdoor pilot, but sort of pitching the idea that they could have a show with these two characters. Could you see a show with these two together without the other Flash characters? That's the real kicker, because Grant wouldn't be available. It'd be just a show with the two of them. Do you think that could work, or is this just like people projecting?
I think it could work. Like, I think this episode sold it really well. Like, I don't think this. I saw people saying this was just a backdoor pilot. I would say it was like halfway in between a normal episode and a backdoor pilot, because it's still not heavily, but it's still, lent on the Flash as a show. It wasn't its own thing. Like, if Green Arrow and the Canaries was a backdoor pilot because it was trying to be its own thing and not be Arrow, like not lean on everything Arrow because it was 100% in the future. This was literally in the past, during the days of the Flash, with Flash characters, with Flash sets, everything like that. So it was like halfway in between a normal episode and a backdoor pilot. And I've heard people saying, this is a backdoor pilot or spin-off show, blah blah blah. And I've been like, well, it would just be the Flash, but with two different characters. But then I watched the episode and I was like, you know what, I wouldn't hate it. I'd probably enjoy watching these characters, especially if they had some fun supporting characters, around this hypothetical show.
I was gonna say, like, in terms of like a potential spinoff series, this is one that I'm on the complete opposite opinion of, like I was with Green Arrow and the Canaries, because I think Green Arrow and the Canaries was a show that if it happened, it happened, but I was not advocating.
You know what the issue with Green Arrow and the Canaries was? It was based around characters that did not work together.
Right.
And they were trying to force a show with characters that didn't work together. You didn't understand why they would be working together, and they tried to force a show around them. Bart and Nora are literally brother and sister that are both speedsters that would just be taking over the legacy of their father. Like, it actually makes sense that they, you could do a show around that. Once again, you'd still need to get some supporting characters around them, and that's maybe where the difficulties could arise, because sure, you could just have an older Barry Norris, but it's not going to be played by Grant Gustin or Candice Patton.
Right.
They'd have to probably recast and just make them much older, like making that when they're 60 or something like that, and whatever it might be. But like, this definitely changed my opinion on it. If they did a spin-off show, it'd definitely work better and be, I think, just have better potential than Green Arrow and the Canaries and what they're trying to do there. Like, no offense, I don't know why people still want that show, because it was so clear it was never going to work.
Right. This Diggle show sounds much better than Green Arrow and the Canaries. They should have just
the Diggle show. I mean, Gotham Knights sounds better than Green Arrow and the Canaries.
All right. Speaking of like recasting and being older, John Wesley Shipp must age the most gracefully out of any person on the planet.
You know what I think it is?
What is it?
Peaches.
Peaches. You think that's the trick?
No,
that the secret?
the artist Peaches. I think he
No,
listens.
let's not. No. No.
Oh, I got you.
We're not even going to go that direction. So when I was watching that scene, the only thing that really took me out of it was like, I'm like, his hair is grayer in 2022 than it is in 2049.
Well,
and he
you
looks
don't know
younger.
the technology they have there. There could be some.
He would be like
whether it's
100
really
years
good-looking
old.
wigs.
He's be like 95 plus years old. Like it just.
Hey, you never know what. You never know what cream is coming out, Eric. You never know what special techniques and plastic surgery and.
Well, they see that their travels have brought Jay back to life. And so they start like grilling him on details before they make their trip back. And I thought, Jay's not an idiot. Like this is making Jay look like he doesn't like he's not stupid. Like those questions were like, I understand they were going for like the tongue in cheek, funny, haha stuff, but I felt like they made Jay look really stupid in that moment because this is the same person that explained all of this to Barry and explained how time travel works to Barry. And they're asking him very specific questions that Jay would know. It's about time travel. And so I was like, already at the beginning, I'm like, this setup feels real bad because of the fact that they just pulled one over on Jay, the person who arguably knows the most about the Speed Force next to Barry. So I was like, oh, this is bad. This is bad. But then we find out they go to the museum and they start going through the files to figure out where these fractures started. And we get the Booster Gold cameo. Well, it's not really a cameo, but the Booster Gold insert in there. And then I started thinking, like, when was he cast? When was that episode filmed? And how did they manage to get it into this flash up? Like, how do you chronologically? How did that work?
It was ADR because she says it off screen. It just shows it and it goes Booster Gold ? And then it moves on. So for those that don't know, spoiler alert: Nora is back later in the season. So I reckon Jessica Parker Kennedy literally probably recorded that line like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, to put into the episode during ADR, and they just put it over and probably got Donald Faison to stand in front of a green screen with a thumbs up when he was filming Legends.
Right.
And said, hey, take some photos like that and do this.
Because a lot of people were thinking he was actually going to be on the episode because they kept teasing.
It would have been impossible for that. I knew that was not going to be the case. I knew it was only going to be something in the Flash Museum. That's what my thought was. Or if they were running back in time, you'd see, like, when Barry runs back, they would see something. Or
like
something
a flash
like
of him on the screen or something like that.
Doing something. But because they filmed this episode, probably when Legends was doing like episode 8 or something like that.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out the time about it, and I was like, I don't know. All right, so we got a couple of Team Eric member chats.
By the way,
yeah.
Actually, you go through the members chats. Do them.
Okay. Robert Blake says, did you see my tweet reply about Jay Garrick? Which one, Robert? Send it to me again on Twitter because I might have missed it. It was my birthday weekend, so I was like doing a lot of stuff. But send it back to me on Twitter and let me see it. We have another one here from Skybound who says, not gonna lie, I'd watch a spinoff of this. Anybody in the chat, what do you think? Would you watch a spinoff of this if it were gonna happen? The Tornado Twins or whatever they wanted to call it. And then we had T-Bear, who is an enhanced Team Eric member. Thank you so much. He goes, did you guys catch that Jay said he's traveled, lived in the past before a few times, which I think he was hinting at Stargirl as well. Love the content. Well, thank you, T-Bear, for the support, and thank you for the Team Eric member chat. Do you think those comments were to tie in Stargirl? Do you think that's what he was hinting at, or no? His comments about living in the
I wouldn't
past
say
before.
it was anything concrete, but
yeah, it's kind of interesting. I can't wait for Stargirl to get roped in. I feel like it needs to happen sooner than later. I know the comics are happening.
Crossover comics start in 3 weeks.
Yeah. So, all right. What is this?
So someone mentioned Rudders in the chat. Remember Rudders? Remember the whole Reuters and Rudders thing? So I thought, you know what, for Paige's pick this week, why don't we go through the menu quickly of Rudders and just
all right.
how they've changed up and just what you pick. We'll go through the burgers, and you had to pick one of these burgers. Which one would you get? The patty melt, the pastrami burger, the ultimate burger, where you can pick your ultimate topping of Jesus Christ. The Route 30 burger, What the hell? 2 grilled cheese sandwiches.
That sounds like you were ready to go to the hospital. That
sounds like either death or toilet. One of the
Who
two.
would eat that last one?
Yeah,
2 grilled cheese sandwiches with a burger in between. 2 or 3. Wait, you can do 3 burgers in between 2 grilled cheese sandwiches. This is not Big Belly Burger, unfortunately.
Okay, why don't we go? What about breakfast? Oh my goodness! Actually, this is pretty tame. Why don't we go? Pizza. They don't really. I'll tell you what, Rudders. They had some specials up here though, which I thought were pretty interesting. Is there a Rudders near you?
No.
Okay, would you get the 2 for $3 roller grill?
Yes, for sure.
Free Captain Crunch.
Large. I'm not a coffee drinker.
Hold on. So. Well, there we go. Anyone near Rudders? They're hiring at $16 an. That's pretty good for America, isn't it?
No,
$16 an hour.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it is for fast food, but in general, that's not like you need to.
Hey. This isn't fast food. This is Rudders.
Let me see if there's a. I'm just curious. Let me see if there's a Rudders near me. I think it's West Coast, honestly.
Where do you live in Virginia?
Oh no! It's up north. It's northeast. It looks like it's in West Virginia, but not in Virginia.
So would you go 140.6 miles for Rudders?
No, would not.
No. See, this is why Eric is not going to. See, we could be flexing on the after party at the moment. We could have some strobe lights.
Dark Bat, look, absolutely. Rudders sounds like a heart attack grill. Yeah, I mean.
Actually, do you think Rudders would sponsor the after party?
We should hit them up. Let's hit them up. And maybe I'll do the 2 for whatever roller dogs. Maybe that's what I'll do. So.
Wait, hold on. Adult beverages.
They have adult beverages there? Oh, it's just beer and wine.
Beer.
All right, yeah.
There's only 2 locations, Pennsylvania and West Virginia.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty convenient. You're actually sort of close to one of the 2 Rudders in existence. Maybe it's a sign. I don't know.
Multi-topic talk goes, hi guys, wondering if I'm the only one worried about Katie Lotz directing an episode of The Flash this season. Maybe we'll get some Legends of Tomorrow in The Flash. I don't think so. I think she's literally just going to be directing.
Once again, I'll mention for those that don't know, like a director on a TV episode doesn't really mean much. Like it was even like when The Mandalorian, remember when Bryce Dallas Howard directed the episodes? Like, like she doesn't write the episode. She just got given the good episode.
So here's the other thing is that no offense to them because directors do affect the shows, obviously, when they're setting up shots and stuff. But a lot of times the actors will direct so they can get a directing credit before the show ends. So because it's the easiest way for them to get a directing credit.
And they do the program through Warner Brothers, like Katie Lotz, Danielle Panabaker, all of them. They do it through Warner Brothers, and that's why you're seeing like David Ramsey go through it because he knows how the shows work. It's the easiest way to build up experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It wouldn't be in a stressful environment, like or at least overly stressful.
Yeah. So they find out as they're digging through the files in the Flash Museum that their fracture in time started with Joe getting shot on a jewelry heist back in 2013. Now, you pointed out there was a era somewhere in the production where the New Year's Eve event was listed as New Year's Eve 2014, but it was actually New Year's Eve 2013.
So at the end of episode 5 of Armageddon, on the photo, it says New Year's Eve 2014 when it was New Year's Eve 2013. They were heading into 2014, but when you're on New Year's Eve, it's 2013. And they even say that throughout the episode multiple times. So I don't think that's anything in regards to the writing or any of them. It's just, I think, a production person that just
made a mistake.
Yeah.
RIP their job. I guess they're fired now. So, but anyway, we have this. They travel back in time because why not? Why not travel back in time? So they go back in time and they pretend to be interns at the police department. And we get to see OG Joe back when he was a detective and he was on the beat out there with obviously Eddie Thawne, who makes an appearance. And they like another thing that I found is the humor sometimes didn't work for me when they were like, as long as nobody asks us who we are and why we're here. And then he comes out of the corner, he goes, who are you and why are you here? I thought that no, like
I thought that was funny.
I was like, that's so awful. Like, why? But then I was happy to see Eddie back. So then I immediately was like, okay, that's annoying, but let's move on from that. But anyway, so they're trying to figure out ways to do things. I will say that I was a little annoyed that some of the solutions to their problems could have been achieved from just being speedsters. And I'm actually surprised they didn't think of that. And I thought maybe it's because they're just not good at doing, like, maybe they're not.
What do you mean by that? Like,
so, like, for example, the issue with the flash drive, like, she didn't have to go and talk to Joe. They could have easily just ran in and swapped it. And nobody would have.
Well, that was the whole thing that Nora said at the beginning was no speed because of, like, I'm not sure exactly the reasoning it was from memory, but it was like not to, because Bart would just wanted to run around using speed to do everything, and Nora was like, no.
Yeah, but I didn't. Whatever the reason was, I don't buy it. I mean, I don't think there was any real. They didn't even know that speedsters existed, so nobody would have been looking for speedsters. So it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't use speed. There was nobody. There's no, like, if you're moving that fast, there's no one would be, like, the Flash wasn't even a thing at this point. So I don't. Whatever reason she gave, I just don't buy it. Why? What would be the logical reason for not using speed? It doesn't make any sense.
Have you seen them?
Well, I mean,
they're a bit klutzy. They're a bit klutzy. So I think I can somewhat support them not,
But then they did use speed, so they use it anyway. So
yeah,
I don't
in outdoor arenas.
They use it though. Like, what would be the reasoning for not using it? Like, if anybody in the chat remembers what her reason was, please post it, because I want to know what.
I can't remember what it was. I remember it was when it was either, like, was it just after? Or was it just after or just before they initially run into Avery? I think it's just before.
I'm wondering if she just didn't want him to use it because of the fact that he's impulsive and he uses it all the time, and that would have been
and
a
that
problem.
she's excessive.
Yes,
and then there's a disorder throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Well, there is disorder within the timeline.
Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so other than that, though, they're doing these intern things, which I thought it was a great idea. I'm like, if you're going to pretend to be something, it makes sense.
Did you like their names?
So, yes, the callback to the creators of the characters. Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. But little Easter eggs like that are fine. I think those are good. I don't have an issue with those. I think those are fun.
It'll be weird to get an issue.
Well, I have an issue with some stuff. Like,
that would be the tip on the ice.
I've had issues with names before. Like, Ryan Wilder sounds like an awful name, by the way. So.
Well, that sounds like literally a casting name, like Van Wilder, played by Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Wilder.
So then we try to. I guess they're trying to figure out how to save Joe because they make it to the height. Which, by the way, the guy that robbed that the store that came out, he also was over the top for me. It felt too.
Well, you know why I didn't think it worked is because he was always the Ralph guy.
Yeah.
The guy that Ralph would always take on. Mm-hmm. Like, whenever Ralph had to do something, that was the villain, or the crook that Ralph. So I don't know if it felt a bit weird. Then I guess it's within the universe, and that just shows that he was always not very good. And that's
I actually think it was just another East. Like, they were like, this guy's been in so many episodes, we just want to use him again. So, but the thing was, all of his like, well, I was just blah blah blah, and like, it just felt like it didn't work with Joe. If that would have been Ralph, I would have been like, okay, that makes sense. But that particular character with Joe didn't work for me. And then Joe called him, I think, young man, and I'm like, young man? He's like at least in his mid-30s. Like,
he's a very polite man, Joe.
But Joe is basically, like, at this point, he's like a 40-year-old man, like a late 40s, and he's calling somebody in their mid-30s young man.
Hey, he's a very polite man, Joe. He's not going to be rude. He's going to be as nice as possible, even if you're robbing a jewelry shop.
I guess.
He's a very nice man.
But then we get the introduction to villains that I hate just as much or closely as, as close as possible to Goldface and Monet Fire Guy or whatever. Is the Royal Flush Gang. The Royal Flush Gang. The setup for this was dumb. They were dumb. That scene was dumb. Those characters are just dumb. That one guy looked like a knockoff Cisco. When I saw him, I was like, is that? It took me a second because I didn't know who they were at first. Like, from the side, I was like, that looks like Cisco's hair, and he's wearing sunglasses. And then he turned around.
But hold on.
What?
K8A Miura says, I remember on Ben's Royal Flush Gang episode review, he said they were using chess puns. Well, Ben's
wait.
never been to a casino, I don't think. So
Is he here? Because I want to ask him about that. Is that true? Did he say they were using
chest puns? Isn't one of them called Ace?
Yeah.
Where's the ace on the? Where's the jack on the? Oh.
All right. Moving on. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of those characters. They're fine villains of the week characters, so I'm not going to harp on it too much, but they're just kind of ridiculous. And I was like, all right, so and the guy, the strong one's like punches. I'm tired of hiding who I am, and I'm like, you've been a metahuman for like 2 weeks at this point.
I think it was a month, wasn't it?
Still, I'm tired of hiding who I am. Like, what are you hiding?
Actually, sorry,
your power is super. Your power is super strength.
Wait.
What are you hiding? It's not like you look like an Ewok. Like, anyway, I don't like these characters. I've never liked them before. They're villains of the week. They're whatever.
Well, no, the reason I thought that they were just being silly with it, but
no, they were absolutely.
But the thing I liked is that they actually addressed the whole thing that I always wondered during season 1 of the Flash. Like, well, hold on, Barry's been in the coma for 6 months, but then we learned that people got their powers like immediately and had them.
Yeah.
So were there metahuman crimes going on within that 6 months that Barry was in it, or however long he was in a coma?
And it looks like there were.
Well, at least in this change, when how the Queen learns about like metahumans and what Bart and Nora was saying, and the influence and stuff on Central City, it inspires them to move forward and do that. So I don't know if there was any beforehand.
Well, also, do you think that this acknowledges how they got their powers in Armageddon? Do you think that this event caused that to happen?
Yes, because this is meant to be before Armageddon.
Right. Okay. I just want to make sure we're on the same page, because I'm like,
because that's the thing. When she first showed up, I was like, this woman looks so familiar, but I have no idea why. And then she walks into the bar and I was like, they look familiar. Why? And then when the guy smashed it, I realized, oh, it's the Royal Flush Gang. And then when the guy, like the Cisco dude, used his laser vision and everything like that, I was like, oh, but they're actually showing us the origin of these people we saw in episode 1 of Armageddon, which I thought was good. And it makes you wonder, when you watch this episode, or if you rewatch it, you'd watch this episode first in a rewatch. You'd watch episode 6, then Armageddon.
That's true.
7 forward.
Yeah, because there's nothing in this episode that would prevent
this
you from watching it before
episode is meant 1. This is almost like a 7.5 episode, almost, between episodes season 7 and season 8.
That's true. And the Godspeed name drop, which leads up to what happened with Godspeed. It's like a repeat of that.
It's pretty much just a follow from, if this was episode 1 of season 7, I would 100% believe it, outside the fact that Barry's not really in it.
Yeah, which is probably why they did that. They didn't want to use this until because we wouldn't have even known who Bart was until after, the events of Armageddon. Anyway, so we have those characters, and we end up having a little bit more of Eddie Thawne, and he actually really missed Eddie. Having him back was kind of nice. I mean, he was such a good character in season 1. Losing him and then not having him all this time, I was like, I really miss this character. So it was kind of, did you enjoy seeing him back? Because I know he's coming back again. So
yeah, I know you love the scene at the end with Eddie and Iris and rekindling their romance. I know you love that scene.
I know a lot of people that didn't love that scene.
Were they elicitors?
Yeah, maybe.
Were they caramels?
I was also thinking, like, whatever changes that are made, depending on where this goes, because we're dealing with so many different things with time travel. So we're dealing with the changes that the Tornado Twins, aka impulsive, excessive, have made. Then we have Iris with her time sickness. Then we have Joe with the stone. There's so many things being juggled at the moment in terms of time. I have no idea what's going to happen from this point, because all the stuff they're doing, all the changes they're making, it feels like this could be a disaster. Because newsflash, at the end of the episode, we get the reveal that Iris's comb or brush or whatever had some green time sickness stuff on it, and we get to see that happening. And I'm like, are we going to retcon Barry and Iris's entire relationship at this point? Because if they do that, that's a big problem, because the Speed Force, it's been made very clear to us that the two of them have to be together for everything to sort of work. So, little problematic if their kids cause that to happen, because then guess what? It is Marty McFly all over again and erased from
McFly.
existence. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we're dealing with this with the kids, and they have to come up with a way to, save Joe or keep it from getting shot. And in the process of doing this, the Royal Flush Gang starts, and then I forgot they met when they were out doing their intern stuff. They ran into Avery, which is obviously Avery Ho from the comics, but they never said her last name, I don't think.
Yeah, they just said Avery, but kept it open ended. I think it was like so reference it, but not 100% confirm it at the same time.
Right. So that was another thing that kind of annoyed me, was not that she was introduced, because I think it's fine. I think her character was fine. She was good in the episode. Was that she dropped that paperwork and Bart picked up one sheet and read like one corner of it. He's like, "This is the most groundbreaking stuff I've ever seen. You're on the cutting edge of quantum physics." And I'm like, it's one
Eric
picture.
It's called a pickup line. It's called a pickup line, Eric. And this is where
Is that what it is?
This is like the opposite of Jonathan with the simping. So this is like smart simping or just general introductions. So Bart got game? Question mark.
Yeah, I guess.
Elaborate. Continue.
So anyway, so yeah, he's talking to her, and of course Nora's like, "Look, we've got other things to deal with. Like, this is not important." But it is important because it comes into play later after they realize that what they've done causes even more issues in time. They're like, "We need to talk to an expert. So let's go talk to this person that we just ran into who doesn't even understand that time travel is real. That person is our expert."
And also, I know he shaded Ben with him thinking that the Royal Flush Gang was in reference to chess. He also said that Avery was fast tracked from the comics,
which is it's
Mina Darwan.
Yeah, she was like the newspaper name. I can never get the first name right, but Darwin's last name, yes. Yeah, she's fast tracked because he only said that, I think, because it showed fast track on the wall in the lab that she was working at, which is
Ben pretends to read the comics.
Oh, okay, well. Where is he at? I want him to be in here so we can troll him a little bit. Well, anyway, so yeah,
it was between him and Warstu. It's up to you. Flip of the coin.
So anyway, yeah, so they go talk to her, and I'm like, she's not really an expert, right? Like you grew up in the Flash family. Does she really have to explain to you any of this stuff? Like, I feel like these are things they should probably already know about, like a fixed point and what the fractures are, and you're not supposed to be doing, like, I don't think she would be an entry level person into quantum physics for time travel, not an expert. The expert they have would be Jay Garrick. That would be an expert for them, but they didn't tell him what was going on. Instead, they go talk to this random person that is not an expert. So I thought that was a little silly as well. And it gave me vibes. So did you ever watch any of the Sci-Fi Network shows like Eureka and Warehouse 13 and all of those like early 2000s like science fiction shows or whatever? Did you watch?
I've literally never heard of any of those.
Okay. They're very, very, they're not bad shows, right? They're very much like Legends of Tomorrow in the sense that it's always like a story of the week, and there's maybe a story running through, but it's kind of just story of the week, and everything sort of just happens and you don't really question it. Like, her story in this episode felt to me like if she's not there to set up something later on, she doesn't need to be there. There was nothing that she told them that had to be done in this episode. Like, honestly, Nora and Bart could have known that, oh, it's a fixed point, so we can't affect that or whatever. They could have easily just made that the case, but they put her in there on purpose. So I think she's actually going to be a bigger deal later on, I'm thinking, as if we don't already have enough characters on The Flash. But we have this little spark of chemistry between them, so obviously Bart wants to go talk to her, and they go to the casino, and we have this casino heist that has to happen. And that was the next problem I had, is that the Queen, who is telepathic, is getting duped by people who are in the building where she's reading everybody's mind. She had to actively go, "I'm going to read your mind," to Bart, instead of just doing that from the beginning. because I thought she was scanning to make sure the police didn't show up. So how is it that Bart and Nora's minds didn't show up on her radar? That was another issue that I had. And I'm like,
because their brains are moving too fast. They're too fast.
But she was able to track Barry's brain though. So
because Barry was baiting her in.
Oh wait, I just got an alert of a new video that went live. Oh no, never mind. It's not important. It was something about Supergirl. So we'll just skip over that. Some deleted scenes from the finale. I don't know. It popped up on my phone and said there was a Supergirl video, and I said, "Oh, what is this?" But it's deleted scenes from the finale, which there we go. Anyway, so we have that battle, and they end up having that scene where Bart has to talk Nora through with the bombs and save all the people, and she ends up doing it. And I thought it was a cool scene, especially the throwing the explosives into the fireworks, which I thought was pretty neat because the timing of that all worked out. And they managed to save the day, and we got a few love scenes between not love scenes between Joe and Cecile that kind of showed them setting up their romance, and then we got the Iris meeting Eddie scene, and so not so love scenes, I guess.
Love scenes.
I was a little concerned though. I'm like, Barry is basically in the hospital, and it didn't seem like Iris or Joe.
Yeah, that was the one thing I think I was like, especially because now that you realize it was only like 2 or 3 weeks after it, and I was like, oh, I can understand like maybe Joe, but then like Iris just walks in, like even Joe for an example. Like if Joe was just working, then fair enough. But the scenes with Cecile feel a bit weird. It was like, hold on, you're like your foster sons or your adoptive son, whichever way you want to put it, is potentially like could die. And we saw in like season 1 flashbacks him like crying at Barry's bed and everything like that. And at this point, he hasn't been taken to Star Labs, so we know there were scenes where Barry and Iris were still consoling over Barry before he was taken to Star Labs.
I think we saw her like crying, right? Wasn't she like upset?
No, although Joe and Iris were crying in those scenes. Yeah. But in here, you got Joe trying to, he's single and ready to mingle and trying to
pick somebody up and take him to a New Year's Eve party. Like,
hey, Cecile, want to come to the hospital and grieve over my comatose son?
Okay, so I'm gonna go a little bit edgy here. It's a little bit edgy. I actually think the humorous stuff that was I was actually thinking the humorous stuff around Joe about picking up Cecile and all that stuff that was going on while they didn't know that Barry was going to make it through was almost disrespectful a little bit. Like it just seemed like we know that Barry makes it through. The kids know that Barry makes it through, but at the time Iris and Joe didn't know. So it's like, what's so humorous about all this stuff that's going on in their life? Like Barry's basically in a coma. I don't know. It felt really weird to me. That was the most tonally weird thing. Also, this episode was very different from the tone of Armageddon, which I really enjoyed. And I think I said in my review that even though the 4th episode had some sketchy writing in terms of like the chronological stuff, I still thought that the Armageddon as a whole was really, really good. And coming into this episode, I felt like we just took all that momentum and went took a right down the street or something.
Yeah.
I don't think it was an awful episode. I think it was an okay episode. It had some moments that I really enjoyed, but overall, I think I preferred what was going on in Armageddon over this, personally. So that's why I think I gave it a C in my review.
I think everyone gave that rating an L.
Maybe, possibly. But I'm curious what the chat thinks. What did you think of this episode on a scale of 1 to 10? I'm curious to see these scores. Like, what does everybody think on a scale of 1 to 10 of this episode of The Flash?
It's an 8.
I thought you don't like to give number scores.
This is the one difference.
Look, I'm seeing some 6s and some 7s. If I was still giving numeric scores, that's kind of where I probably would have landed on it. Would be somewhere around that.
Well, would you give this episode a twerk or a chalk? Or a Millie Rock?
Probably a twerk.
Okay, well, that's not a good sign.
Probably
I think Eric gave the Snyder Cut a twerk, so
I did, actually.
It's a low bar.
Yeah, it probably is. All right, so I think I don't see any of our usual suspects. We did have a game, but we're gonna wait on that one. Which, by the way, let's go ahead and set a time for our game night this coming up week. What night do we want to do it on?
Yeah, well, hold on.
Yeah.
No, keep talking.
Okay. How about Monday for me, which would be Tuesday for you?
Monday for you, which is Tuesday for me. What time?
I don't know. What do you think? Should we do it later than normal? Like,
It's up to you because most of our listeners are going to be from, and people that go in are going to be from American, man,
mhm.
or from like that region. Obviously, there's from different, like, but I think the majority, by a good amount, is from North America.
So let's go. Why don't we do it during an episode time here? Like what? Because nothing comes on Monday.
That's at midday my time, either midday or 1 o'clock.
Is that
like Flash, for example, starts at midday?
Is that good for you or bad for you?
It's always bad, no matter what time.
Okay. So why don't we do it on Monday then? Why don't we do a game day on Monday? We'll do some quiz. I'll do a quiz. Well, we could set up a quizzle thingy, and then
we'll try and organize if we can possibly. We can try and organize it where people are actually here.
Right.
If that makes sense. It's up to people. Like, do people want just me and Eric here, or do you want? Well, Ben was here last time, wasn't he?
We had quite a few people. I thought we had
Ben. Ben was here because he came like 10th in that thing where you won Flex.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see if that was a fluke or not.
I don't know. 49 Super Chat. Can we submit our own questions once in a while for game night? Well, the problem is that we would have to do it in advance, and I know with Quizzle you have to have everything in and ready to go, right? Because that's what we're probably going to use for like interactive stuff.
I think Quizzle you can make it in advance, but I know about like you'd probably do it like just like in the half an hour leading up to the stream.
Right, right.
Like this Jeopardy one I made, if someone else was here, I did that like last week or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we can do that on the game night.
Mm. Yeah. So, all right, we'll consider that Staggervore. Let me think about a way to do that, because if you post it publicly, then people will still know the answer. So, let me think about how we could make that happen, because that might be a good idea. So Ash goes, Armageddon didn't matter. The cameo and story got wiped clean. No, that's not true.
What got wiped?
No, Armageddon affected people. Like they it's not like they forgot that it happened. I think he's talking about the stuff with the twins, not the twins, but with Nora and Bart. But this episode happened before Armageddon.
But they weren't in Armageddon.
Right, but I think he's talking about the changes that were made in this episode.
But what changes affected Armageddon?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's connected at all. I think this happened before. He's saying all of it got wiped clean. So I think he means any changes that happened, because Armageddon did change time, but I don't think
Armageddon, the changes from Armageddon are after this episode. So it's the changes in this episode plus Armageddon, and that's why it's going to be capital F.
Yeah, it's going to be
and that's why you can believe that there could be some Ronnie stuff and some Eddie stuff and whoever else coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if actually Ash, Armageddon matters even more now.
Look,
because there's even more stuff going on.
Don't forget, time change to daylight savings time. That happens this weekend.
And not for me. Wait, so what does that mean? So what time is it now?
It is 7:30 now.
So you'll go to 8:30 if it was now. Do you gain an hour, or are you gaining an hour or losing an hour?
I think you know what? I don't even know. Daylight savings time is confusing. Hold on, let me see.
Usually
I think you lose one and then you gain one.
You lose by losing it. You go ahead. So if it was 7:30 now, it'd be 8:30. If
right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yes. You're right. You're right.
Because so that means that. So that means it'll be at 11 o'clock my time if we get started at 8 o'clock your time.
Yes. Is that still good or bad?
As I said, it's always bad. No.
All right. I'm gonna make sure I mark that down. All right. So the next game night is gonna be on Monday, and we could have some people join in if you want. If you want, like,
would you like to bring the whiteboards back?
No.
You didn't like the whiteboards?
Well, no, because I was the only one that had them. Everybody else had
Canada Grass has one. I know Canada Grass has a whiteboard.
Yeah, maybe.
Ben has Ben bought one, I think.
He never used it though, right?
Yeah, because we swapped as soon as he bought it.
Daylight savings time is one of the biggest headaches in the world, honestly.
Well, it's
And
not
just
anymore because unless you have like a wristwatch or something, everything changes automatically anyway.
Well, it does, but then I never prepare for it because I just always know when I wake up the next day it's going to be whatever.
Do you
time
ever
it is,
prepare for anything, Eric?
Not usually, not typically, except when I use my the slides in my videos that you hate so much. Then I prepare with those.
I hate those slides.
So
Boycott not boycott Warner Brothers. Boycott the slides on Eric's videos.
You mean these ones right here? Like
I hate them. They trigger me to fun.
How old is Jay Garrett?
You know what's funny? I know Eric got his
How old?
screenshots. I know you got your screenshots from my video.
No, I
There's
didn't.
there's a little orange dot in the corner. Go back.
Was it your video?
Yeah, there's a little orange dot in the corner.
Where?
Go back.
Which
That
are you
one.
talking about?
See in the top right, there's a little orange dot.
I don't see any orange dot.
Top right of the Nora and Bart screenshot.
What is that
Is it-
from? This is
That's
from
from
someone
the-
else. This is from another person's video that just puts photos in it.
Well,
That's
they
where I
must
get
have
it
stole
from.
my video.
Well, they might have. I don't know where they got theirs from. Usually what I do is I'll go on and I'll just type in like episode blah 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 screenshots, and then it'll be a video with like different
Yeah,
pictures, and I'll
because
just grab from
that's
that
what
video.
I record the screen when I'm watching it.
Oh, well, that makes
And
sense.
and on the Mac, they put like a little orange dot there when you're recording.
Because like these are all from different things. Like I have that's from the CW.
Well, another orange dot.
Oh, is it? That's from yours too. Then
Yeah.
what about that one?
Another orange dot.
That one?
No,
that
no
one
orange dot there.
No orange dot.
No
there.
orange dot there. Oh, the orange. So
There's one
the
there.
Orange dot. The orange dot. Orange dot.
There.
Orange dot. Orange
Yeah.
dot.
Somebody took all of your stuff then.
Oh,
Not all of them. So some of them don't have it.
Oh, so either Eric's been exposed or this person,
No.
this mysterious unnamed person.
Well, it's one of those channels. It's like Arrowverse Pictures .love or something. I don't know. It's one of those things. So
dot love.
yeah. Because if you go on YouTube and usually what I type in is like whatever the thing is, episode number, and then negative reactions. Because if I don't put that in, it'll pull up like a bunch of reaction videos. So what happens is it'll just be somebody that does screenshots of scenes, or it'll be a clip from the episode, like just.
I don't know how
clip
people
and then
aren't
it's
seeing
a-
this orange dot. It's clearly in the top right.
No,
of
I
the
saw it when
screen.
you told me what it was. I see it. Yeah. So so somebody is either doing what you're doing and just recording it from their computer, or they're getting stuff from your video. But most of them are video clips. So that's funny. I see it, but that means Paige is the only one who edits Flash stuff on a Mac. Oh,
because everyone always abuses me for using a Mac, even though it's
Do they really?
clearly the more alpha product.
so
I mean, who
I'll
uses
see
a
everybody
PC
later.
in
Everybody that's
2020?
leaving, bye. We're gonna wrap up in a second anyway. Yeah, so I didn't think, I thought using a Mac was like standard. Like I thought a lot of people use Mac for editing.
Oh,
guess
apparently
not.
Ben doesn't have a Mac. You don't have a Mac. I have a Mac.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought I was an outlier. I didn't realize that I was a standard. Like I thought that what I was doing.
Well, you
was
are an
about the same.
outlier, but just in general.
Yeah. Yeah, if you go like honestly, if you go to YouTube and you type in like West Allen, like 8x06 or whatever West Allen, it'll just be like 7 videos of people with pictures from
Well,
that scene, so.
I'm sorry to tell you, I haven't been doing that lately. Going West
Well,
Allen
you know.
and episode numbers.
Somebody is like saying go to Ben's video. I want to watch the video now to see if he said that. Like I'm not going to do it right now.
Let's all go to Ben's Royal Flash Gang chess video and make fun of him in the comments. The Flash kills, WTF ending, Barry levels up.
Yeah.
Wait, is that what the title of the video is?
Oh, I don't know. Is that the title of his video? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so game night on Monday night. Come and join us then, and we'll have a lot of fun. We'll figure out the specifics of it, but we will be using quizzes. I think is how it's pronounced. Quizzes. We'll do that. We'll probably have a couple of those Jeopardy quizzes that we do. We'll invite some people on. Maybe I'll grab Lance if he's free. Canadagraphs. We'll ask Ben if he wants to show up, if he's safe and sound in London.
Not in the Ukraine mentally,
yeah,
whatever it was last time.
Let's see if he wants to come in.
That I must say, when he shows up next, I'm gonna have to bring that up. That is one of the funniest excuses I've ever heard to not showing up to a live stream. I can't because of the Ukraine, even though he lived in London.
I don't know. Oh yeah, Twitter Space. When do we want to do another? Obviously not tonight, but when do we want to do another one of those? We didn't get to do one this past week.
Maybe. So. Do you want to do them like on a Thursday your time sometime?
Like, were we talking like later or earlier?
Whenever you're free on a Thursday. That's obviously not like in the morning. I guess because that's like after the Flash and Superman Lois have been on, and
we could do it early if you wanted. Like I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me because I don't think Twitter Spaces is the same issue as YouTube. Like I feel like that's a whole separate thing. So, let's figure it out this week. But I think Thursday sounds like a good day to do a Twitter Spaces because that doesn't require me to set up everything. I can kind of just step aside for a minute and do it. So yeah, we'll do that. All right, that's it, guys. We're out of here. We'll see everyone next